Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Mark, a trainer here at WEX Field Service Management, and today we are covering job profit and loss and allocation. This webinar will cover profit and loss overview, profit and loss setup, profit and loss reporting, and then how to set up allocation for your technicians. We'll do a live Q&A at the end where you can get your questions answered live on stream. And without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into WEX FSM. Now, the first question is, what is profit and loss? When you are creating jobs, you will then do the job for your customer, invoice that customer, and when they pay, that will be considered revenue. Of course, when you are getting revenue, there's also costs involved, and you want to make sure that when you're looking at your profit, that you are looking at a number that has considered the costs that have been subtracted from the revenue. And WEX FSM does a great job of doing the math for you, but it is important that you know how to set certain things up. You want some of your settings correct, some things in your price book, which we'll go over today. And if you don't have those set up, then your profit and loss numbers will not be correct. So, one of the main things as you're watching today is think about, are you doing these things that we are going to set up today to make sure that those profit and loss numbers are correct? So, to track your profit and loss, we need to have revenue, which will come from your invoices, your customers paying those invoices, your product costs, and your labor costs. Now, I am in WEX FSM. I have navigated to a job. I created this job for this presentation, but you'll be going to your customers' jobs simply by going to their customer page. I'm just typing in my customer, Justin. I would go to his profile and then go to his timeline of jobs and find the job that I'm looking for. Every job in your system will have a profit and loss tab. There's a lot of different tabs here. The very last one is profit and loss. And from here, you can see your revenue. This is going to be the total amount that is paid for invoices for this job. And then you'll see your product cost and expenses are subtract to give you a profit. Now, for this number to be correct, you need to set up your product costs and make sure your labor costs are correct as well. And you don't set those up here. Those are done on separate pages. So product cost, when I am adding an item from the price book to my invoice, that price book item is going to have a cost of that item. So as I'm adding multiple items from my price book, your system will do the math of the cost from each of those and then subtract that from the revenue to get the profit and loss. But we need to make sure that costs are included in the price book for this to be correct. To do this, we will go to More Applications, Price Book, My Price Book. Now, I am not doing a full overview of building a price book from scratch. If you are interested in that, you can always just go down to the Help Center, the little smiley face guy in the bottom right, video courses and webinars, and you can either see if we have any price book setup webinars you would like to attend, or on your own time, you can come down below and watch the price book basics and price book advanced recordings if you are interested in a full run through of that. But you have your price book here. Let's just look at a product. So I'm going to go to one of my parts. Let's just look at the general part. And every price book item that you have will have a cost field. This is saying, this is how much I am paying for this item. And then with your markup, you would have your standard price. And this is what your customer will see when you add this item to your invoice. But this cost field, if this is empty, the job will not know how much this item cost you and will not be able to factor in the cost. So, as a rule of thumb, for your profit and loss to be correct, one of the layers is that cost has to be factored. So you can either go in and just spot check each of these items to make sure a cost is there. And as you are creating products, or if you are loading Pricebook items, maybe through an Excel file, make sure that there is a column for cost for each item. That way, your profit and loss will be correct for costs. Next, we need to know the labor cost. That's going to be how much it's costing you to pay your technician for the time that they are on the job. And to do this, you will want to go to Settings, User Management, Users. This will bring you to the user page. All of your users in your system will be here. And we're going to use our our field technician, Dustin Bailey, as an example. And this is the field we're looking for. Right here, it says labor cost per hour. And this is asking how much does it cost you to pay this user for 1 hour of their time? And, this will most likely include their hourly rate that you actually pay them on payroll, plus whatever you're factoring in as an average for an hour of wear and tear on vehicles, gas, any extra expenses are factored in to get Dustin out to the job, working on the job, and on to the next job. That will factor in as your labor costs per hour. If this is empty, when Dustin goes on the job and tracks time, it will not factor in a cost, and your profit and loss reporting will be incorrect. So you just want to make sure anyone who is going to track time on a job, you come in and add this here. Maybe I don't need to put my labor cost per hour for my office representatives because they're not tracking time on jobs. But it is very important you're doing it for your technicians. So we've got Dustin here at $40 an hour. And whenever you do make that update or change, always make sure that you hit save. I have definitely done that before where I make a bunch of changes and I move on and realize didn't save. So always hit save. Once you do this, now when Dustin goes out to the job from the mobile app, he'll say, I'm on my way, and that will start the time clock. He'll do the job, he'll complete the job, mark the appointment as complete. Your system will then take the time that he worked on the job and enter that into your profit and loss reporting. So you will see the labor cost for this job is $120. So those are the main two pillars that you want to have set up. Get your product cost set, which is done in the price book, and your labor cost set, which is done from the user permission page. Now, if you noticed, you can also click See Details. This will give you a breakdown of labor cost per technician. It will actually allow you to adjust the labor cost here if you do want to make it different for this job. Adjusting it here, however, will not adjust it in your main settings on the user. Lets you know the hours worked and the amount. You can also set other expenses. So maybe this isn't something that happens all the time, but let's say for this job, there was an equipment rental. I'm not really wanting to show or charge the equipment that I used. Maybe I need a pressure washer for something. I'm not showing that as a line item on the invoice, but it was a cost. It was an expense to me that I want to make sure is factored in to the job. To do this, to add a expense that is not part of your price book and is not included in the actual invoice, click New and just enter in what it is and put a dollar amount. Very simple. If you want to delete, you just click the minus sign and that will delete that line item. So there you have it. Your profit and loss per job is tracked from the profit and loss tab here. Revenue comes from your invoices. You can have multiple invoices as long as they are paid. That is considered revenue. And then your product costs are the cost from each item on your price book. And the expense will come from any additional expenses that you have added, showing you your profit. Now, this is a single job. So, yes, you can come in, you can look at your profit and loss per job on each job page, but we all know that we want to know revenue in total, and you can do this from the job profit report. So, you can look at your revenue in bulk. To do this, we need to go first to the reporting page. Click on reporting in the top left. That will bring us to the reporting page. And we're looking for the job profit report. That is in the jobs section under job profit report. Job profit report is exactly what you think it would be. It shows you your job profit, but we have a couple nuances here. You can search by date range. Maybe I want to see all profit from installs last week. I can do that from here. Set your date range, set your job type as long as you are setting each job to a job type, you'll be able to track the different types of jobs that you do. Maybe I want to see, how much money did I make from no AC calls last week or last month? Job status, is the job open, closed, or abandoned? Lead source, maybe I want to see how much money did I make from people who found our company through Angie's List or from Facebook or from the spring promotion that we just did last month. You can then track by lead source as well. The filtered totals will update, and you can see total profit, total revenue, product costs, labor costs, and expenses at a glance for every job in your system from this report. So, great place to just see job profit. And again, if your profit and loss, your costs for product costs and labor costs, if those are not set up, these numbers won't be correct. This is making sure it's pulling from each job. So the things that we set up today, make sure you're going and taking a look at and that those are filled out. All right. So that is our information on profit and loss. Let me just check my notes real quick. Yep, very good. Now let's talk about allocation. And so I have clicked over to the technician job performance report to get here for reference. You will go to reporting. And then in the users section on the right, it's called technician job performance. So allocation, what is allocation? When you are getting revenue from a job, you may have different reasons to allocate those funds to your technicians. That can either be one main scenario is you want to provide commission for certain actions. Let's say I have someone who is a field technician and I want to incentivize them to sell more maintenance plans. I know if I get people on maintenance plans, my recurring revenue is going to come in and make me a lot more money. And that can be a really great revenue generator along with my service calls and my repairs and my installs. But my technicians, they're not really doing it. So I can incentivize them by providing commission. And you can track this and use WEX FSM to help you keep track of this. We're going to go into where to set this up in just a minute, but just giving you an idea of how you might use this first. So that's one scenario. You want to just straight up pay a commission based on the revenue. You can choose a percentage and be able to pay that out. Another idea is if you want to track revenue goals. Maybe I want all of my technicians to hit a certain number of revenue. So they would be working to do more jobs in a month. And if they hit a certain revenue goal, then I will pay them out a certain commission. So those are some scenarios on what allocation is and why you may want to use it. And to set up your allocation so your system can track that for you, you will do this by going to Settings, Jobs, Job Types. And job types by default, if you don't know this already, job types are a way to set what type of job each of your job is. And it's really great for reporting if I am essentially designating what these types are. Every time I do an install, I'm going to select install job type. Every time I do a no AC call, I'll do a no AC job type. When I go to my reports, I'll be able to pull up each type of job that I do and kind of isolate focus on my reports for that. So that's one main reason you would use job types. But job types will also, and I'm going to click on the service job type here. Job types also allow us to track percentage allocation for technicians. If we hover over the eye here, anytime you see a little eye like this in your system, you can hover over it to give you just a quick tip or an explanation of what this is. Percentage of credit technicians will receive for a job's invoices and payments. The primary technician on the job will receive the primary tech percent allocation. The secondary technician on the job will receive the secondary percentage allocation. And, what does this mean? When you do a job, as we saw before, you will have revenue, and that revenue comes from your customers paying their invoices. You can then provide or give credit for a certain percentage of that revenue that's coming in. And so, one example here, we've got this is saying that for all service calls, the percentage allocation I'm giving to my primary technician is 75%, and additional technicians are 25%. And then we have two options here. We can give these percentages or give credit for these percentages to each technician separately, or we can split them among the techs. The biggest difference here is that if you do split among techs, you cannot go over 100% between the two. If we're going to split this, we're splitting 100% of the revenue for each job. And I would need to make sure that these percentages don't go over the amount of the job. Give to each tech, I can have up to 100% for both primary tech and additional techs. And if you are trying to track revenue goals, that's most likely what you will choose because you want to be able to track 100% of the revenue for each job that they do so you can track whether or not they are hitting their numbers. You're not necessarily giving out a commission for those percentages for that one. Now, this is up to you how you want to use this. You will set your parameters, determine how you want to do things. And the way that you will check this is by going to the technician job performance report and looking at the invoice total. So right now I'm saying, let's do the month of March. So in March, my technician, Dustin Bailey, uh, this number that you're seeing here would be 75% because his allocation is set to 75%. Well, actually, this is going to show a mixture. So each job type, you can actually set up different allocation parameters. And it can be a lot. It's like if I do a maintenance job, I'll get this percentage. If I do a service job, I'll get this percentage. So Each individual job type has its own allocation you can set. That's a lot of math to cover, but your system will do the math for you and to show in total how much allocation you are providing. Now, in a couple of scenarios here, I know the first time that I learned about allocation, I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But I was lying. I had no idea what it meant. And so I want to just give you some examples. How does this actually play out in some scenarios, and how might you actually use this in your day to day? So, first scenario would be I want to provide commission. I want to pay my technicians money for doing certain, like hitting certain goals. Let's say that I will set, let's go back to my job types. For every service job, I want to give 10% commission to each. So, whether it's additional tech or primary tech, any of them who go out and work on a service call, I'll give them 10% commission. Or at least I will track 10% of the revenue of all of that. Then I can see the total of the 10% and provide them a commission from that. It's however you want to do it. But if I set this to 10%, when I go to the technician job performance report, the number I'm looking at will most likely be the exact number I want to pay out. If I'm giving a 10% commission for that job type, and I look here, I will see 10% of the revenue of those jobs. So that's one scenario. I want to give commission. Maybe it's 5%, maybe 10% is a little generous. Set 5% here. Whatever percentage you want to provide, 3%, 5%, 10%, I'm going to give this much commission. And this is the exact dollar amount I would then pay out because I set it to that percentage. However, another scenario you may want to do is you're not looking for a commission. You want to track revenue goals. You want to make sure that they are reaching $50,000 in revenue on invoices per month, let's say. In that scenario, I want to put 100%. And then from here, this number in the invoice total will show 100% of revenue. So this number would be much higher. And then I would say at the end of the month, is your invoice total here, which is tracking 100% of revenue from all jobs that they did, is it 50,000? Did you hit your revenue goal that we've been tracking for you? And then if they go over that amount, maybe you take however much over and give them a credit on that or a commission on that amount. So that is allocation in a nutshell. And that is all the information that we have for today's presentation. I hope you guys learned something. We are going to move to our Q&A now. If you have any questions, you can throw those in the chat. But I just want to say thank you guys so much for joining. My name is Mark with WEX Field Service Management, and this has been Job Profit and Loss and Allocation.